Recording in progress.
Good evening. It is 6:01 p.m. and I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Marino Design Review Committee for August 2, 2023. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Staff, may we have the roll call, please?
Committee member Torgerson is absent today. So committee member Chang,
Present.
committee member Lakon,
Present.
committee member Batnish,
Present.
vice chair Chow,
Present.
and chair McKay.
Present. Thank you. The agenda is posted 72 hours prior to each meeting at the following locations: the San Marino City Hall, the Kroll Public Library, and the Stoneman Building. The agenda is also posted on the city's website. The city welcomes public input. At this time, the public may address the Design Review Committee on items that are not on the agenda. Pursuant to state law, the Design Review Committee may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda. To ensure that everyone, including those joining us remotely, are able to hear all speakers clearly, please speak directly into the microphone. Please note that all comments are limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by city staff. I'll now ask staff to explain how the public comment will work for those individuals participating through Zoom and phone.
Should those wish to participate online, you can do 3 ways. Either you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom and we will ask you to unmute for that item you're wishing to speak on. Or you can, the second way is to type in your comments in the chat box and we'll read your comments out loud for the record. The third way is to email planning@cityofsanmarino.org and we will also read your email into the record.
Thank you. Does anyone here wish to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please state your name and city of record. And seeing none, no one is here for an item not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments submitted electronically?
We do not.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the public hearing. Each committee member has received the plans and the staff comments and report and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. The general order for hearing each case will be as follows. First, staff will discuss the case and provide background information and a recommendation. Committee members may ask questions of staff after the presentation. Second, the applicant will then present their project if they desire to do so. The committee may take the opportunity to ask the applicant questions. Third, the hearing will then open up for public comment from in-person and teleconference participants. Fourth, at the conclusion of public comment, the applicant will have a chance to respond to the public comment, at which time the public comment will be closed. And then I will then ask for comments from each of the committee members for discussion, and will ask that committee members not repeat comments made by their fellow committee members. Committee members may then vote to approve, deny, or continue the project. In the event of a denial, it is hoped the applicant will have heard comments during the public comment portion of the meeting and during deliberation that will be useful in resubmitting an application. It's also important to understand that there's a 15-day appeal period after an action has been taken for the applicant or any interested party to request the Planning Commission to review and act on the case. So we will turn to the agenda and item number 1, which is design review case number DR 20-33 at 2215 Ashburn Drive. Staff who will be presenting number 1.
This is Camila Martinez, Associate Planner. I'll be presenting item number 1. Item number 1 was for the recommendation of denial for design review case 20-33 at 2215 Ashburn Drive for a new fence and driveway gate. Since the publish of the agenda, the applicant has since requested of staff to inform the design review committee as a wish for continuance to work with staff to resolve the issues of the project and to come back to the DRC if necessary with different items for review.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee have questions for staff? Committee Member Chang.
So the applicant now decided to continue this matter, right? They're not going to move forward with the application.
Well, they're going to move forward with it. They're asking to continue it to work with staff.
So staff had a conversation with the applicant.
Right.
The applicant will like to discuss the items further with staff and hopefully coordinate a resolution and bring back the project for review.
I understand. So the motion would be for continuing, right?
Date on denial.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for staff? Committee Member
Yes,
Bench.
Chair. It seems like this has been, if I understood correctly, that this has been in discussion with the applicant since April 2020. So I'm just wondering, and that there's been extensive discussions going back and forth with the applicant since then. So is this something that we have a lot of hope of suddenly having some advancement, or I'm just kind of.
I had a
wondering
pretty
about
positive conversation with the applicant this afternoon. So my hope is that we can resolve the issues and bring back forward a project that is complete.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I just have a question. I also recognize it's been a long time coming, and the staff report was very concerning in making clear that the applicant was flagrantly flouting the 3 criteria, the 3 items that staff had asked them to address. So hopefully that will be made clear to them, and they're not appearing tonight, correct? We're just making a motion to continue.
The applicant is here.
Oh.
However, like I mentioned, the conversation with the applicant this afternoon was positive. It is our hope that a resolution will be worked out and we can bring back a complete packet for you within a short time frame, not multiple months.
Yeah, I think maybe a short leash, as it
Yeah.
were.
That is the intention. And I believe the applicant would like to come here as soon as possible as well.
Okay. Before we go to a motion, are there any other questions for staff? Because I'm wondering if we need to, we're not going to move to hearing from the applicant then, correct?
If the committee has any questions, the applicant is here. The applicant does not have a prepared presentation, since we are agreeing to, in terms of staff, we're agreeing to move forward with the continuance.
Okay. Do my fellow committee members, would they like to hear from the applicant?
Chair, if I may just, I think that the key issue is that the height issue, which is a code issue. Is that the part that we trying to resolve with the applicant? Is that?
Well, in order to resolve it, as I understand it, city staff needs some very specific information so that they can conduct the proper analysis and give us a recommendation. So yes, that's the issue, but I think that threshold issue can't be addressed until that information is presented.
And did you resolve the issue that was?
We are coordinating a meeting where we're going to discuss the 3 points of concern, and hopefully we can bring it a resolution. Again, my conversation with the applicant was positive this afternoon, so my hope is to bring back a application with all the points being addressed.
Okay, well, with that in mind, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to continue design review case number 20-33 at 2215 Ashbourne Drive for a new fence and driveway gate to a date uncertain.
I'll second the motion.
Staff, may we have roll call?
Yes. Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cho,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
That's a 5-0 vote for approval of continuance to a date uncertain.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 2. Agenda item 2, design review case number DR 23-22 and DR 23-63 at 1917 South Euclid Avenue. Who will be presenting this item, staff?
It's the Eric G, Assistant Planner, presenting case number DR 23-22 and DR 23-63 at 1917 South Euclid Avenue. The project is subject to 2 items. DR 23-22 is to add 400 square foot addition to the rear, and DR 23-63 is to replace existing windows on the side visible from the street with new dimensions, design, and location. The project is not removing any tree, and the property is not listed on the citywide historic resource survey. There were 12 legal neighbors who did not object to the project and 2 no responses. Staff also received 2 public comments, one from Elizabeth Lickman at 1925 South Euclid Avenue, who is a south adjacent neighbor, wrote to compliment the neighbors and support the project. The other comment came from Lorna Fung, who is the north adjacent neighbor at 1909 South Euclid Avenue, who also sent letter to support the project. And for the record, staff would like to clarify that the plans have been revised since the publishing of the agenda to adjust the language regarding the windows 18 and 20 to indicate that they have been now read that the windows are being replaced with new windows to clarify the change outs. The new windows schedule also revised to reflect the change of materials. The submitted windows were originally proposed as Sierra Pacific wood windows. Now there will be Sierra Pacific aluminum clad windows with custom colors to match the existing colors of the existing aluminum clad windows. In regards to the massing, the Los Angeles County assessors does not currently recognize the livable attic space and calls out the existing livable area as 1,176 square foot. And with the proposed addition, the total livable area will be brought up to 15,076 square foot.
Assistant Planner G, could you speak a little bit more slowly and into the microphone?
Yes.
Thank
sorry.
you.
Or 1,576 with the 400 square foot addition. That's excluding the livable attic space that they have. And for the new windows, the applicant is proposing the Sierra Pacific aluminum clad wood windows now. And the divided lights are now matching to be consistent with the divided lights found in the windows of the front facade. The project meets all findings and staff recommends approval. That concludes the staff report, and the applicant and the representatives are present to answer any questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner G. Do any of the committee members have questions for staff? I have a question for staff. I just want to make sure that, so there were some issues with the plans and some inconsistencies. And could you just tick them off, what's been corrected in what we have? And I understand that this is what we have here, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So it really wasn't much more of an inconsistency, but more of a clarification on the language. The windows have been indicated to be demolished, and the new windows that are being replaced is now just clarifying that they're replacing those demolished windows on the elevation and floor plans. The other change that's been made is on the window schedule with the window materials. The original proposal was to have the Sierra Pacific wood windows. Since then, since the submissions, the applicant now revised to make the windows aluminum clad wood from the same manufacturer as Sierra Pacific.
Did the applicant give a reason for that change?
So the original windows or the existing windows that the house has are Pella aluminum clad windows, aluminum clad wood. And when it was installed, they were installed with a like for like change, but the color itself was field painted per advice of the previous planner who oversaw the project. And to match that field painted aluminum wood color, the applicant felt that the wood windows would be a more appropriate approach to have the wood color be painted or the wood windows to be painted. Since then, they've also spoke with the manufacturers and confirmed that they could provide a custom color to better match the field painted aluminum clad windows. So that change has been made.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to clarify with staff one more time, even that you had explained already. Since I brought up the questions about Windows schedule, I just thought that I will kind of point them out one by one, so all the members can make notes accordingly. On the plan A, the page A 6.1, that is the Windows schedule page. If you look at from the left column, you see a W19, which is window number 19. If you go all the way to the right, window number 19, the plan we received is blank. There's no remarks there. That should have been replace existing location. Is that correct, staff?
Window number 19.
Yes. 6.1 schedule.
Yes. So the confusion is that this isn't a replacement per se. It's relocating or a new window after demolishing the existing door that's existing on the house. So the window, the door number 4 is being demolished, and in that place, the window number 19 is being put in that location.
What is being demolished?
The door number 4.
I don't think that's for the door. There are 2 windows for the kitchen. One is over the sink. One is, there's another existing window there. I believe 19 is to place that second kitchen window, is not the door.
So the existing window 33 is being demolished, and in that place, they're putting a new window number 20. They're removing window number 32 and door 4, and in that location, they're placing the window number 19. And window number 34 is being replaced with window number 18. And that's reflected on elevation that's found on sheet A4.4.
Yes, I'm looking at the plan again. For the proposed south elevation. Okay, I think you're correct. I was incorrect. So so the 4 windows getting replaced. Which 4 are they?
Window number 18, window number 20, and window
9, right?
it's on the other side of the house.
North elevation number 9.
Yes,
Okay.
window number 7 and window number 9.
Number 7. Where's number 7?
North elevation.
So there are 2 on north.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, Vice Chair? Any other questions for staff from other committee members? Okay, hearing none. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here? Do they wish to comment on the proposal for a maximum of 5 minutes, please? If so, please state your name and address for the record and speak into the microphone if you could, please.
I'll try. Hello, staff. This is, my name is Patrick Serpicki. I'm the architect on the project. Thank you, Eric, for your presentation and report. The project is a 400 square foot addition of a bedroom suite and a laundry room to the first floor of the rear. Even though it is a small increase in size, it will greatly affect the how the young family lives in this space. The addition of the larger bedroom suite on the first floor will allow the parents to sleep down the same level as the children. The addition of the dedicated laundry room will help us be able to relocate the existing washer and dryer out of the kitchen. The addition of the access from the new driveway directly into the mudroom / laundry will be a great feature for a young family that for all the stuff that piles up, they can organize it. The addition, it wasn't a simple addition, the fact that we were contending with there's an existing dormer windows up on the second floor. And we wanted to keep the steep Tudor roofs. So we had to we came up with this triple design gable, which we worked with staff to really kind of get this last roof proposal to kind of work out well. And we do believe it does occur typically in a Tudor type home to have the triple gable. Let's see. The lot is fairly small at 6,200 square feet, and the garage happened to be set back pretty far from the rear property line. It's like 12 feet. So that became a little bit of a contention of how to do design of an addition that will kind of keep a nice separation between the structures. So we did come up with a stepping of this structure, how it goes back. And we do have at a distance of about 11 feet to the laundry room is the separation. And then there is a point at the new bathroom that is about 10 feet. But we do have minimal gable overhangs that will kind of help, keep it from feeling like it's really closed in. And then we did a 3D, Eric's got a 3D that we did just to kind of help visualize that connection and the massing between the two structures. So we'd love to show you that.
The video is smoother on our computers, but it seems like our third-party encoder is making it slower, but you'll see the point.
So that first corner at the laundry room is about 11 feet. And then that corner to the right of that, the third gable in the middle is the pinch point at like about 10 feet. And there's an existing deck on the rear of the property, and we're not going any further than that. We're actually a little closer because there's like 2 steps, but we're more of where the deck is, and it's only really at that laundry room corner. Thank you. Come in. And sorry for the last minute change on the windows. It was when they previously did the windows that I guess the color, they didn't like the color that matched the planner. So they had a field paint aluminum clad windows, which I don't think is a really great solution just for maintenance and durability. So we thought that was our point of contention. So we thought preparing wood and painting wood would be better, but I think someone made a comment about it. So we just kind of started thinking like, well, obviously if we can get a custom color, that'd be a good approach. It's just, since the pandemic, ordering windows takes like 5 to 6 months. So a custom color will add a month to that if you get the custom color right the first time. So that was kind of our fear at first, but I think ultimately it's a better product, and we're kind of used to now really when we're in the building permit process to start ordering windows. It does make it tough because, it just no changes and what have you. So, but we think it's good that was brought up, and I think it'll end up being a good solution. So thank you.
Thank you. Does any committee member have any questions for the applicant's representative? Committee member Chang.
Just one quick question. I just want to, if I hear correctly, you try to make a custom color to match the existing remaining windows so that they look consistent. Is that the idea?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
And the manufacturer told you that they were able to match it. How would that work?
Basically, we would pick what their recommendation was. Don't just pick one color, pick like 3 colors that you think is pretty close to, like from different manufacturers. You send that out to them, then they send a color chip, and then we compare that to the existing color. So he said that that's the point, that if you don't get it the first time around, you start getting into your lead time because you're going back and forth with the window manufacturers. But they will custom match a color from most of the Dunn Edwards and Benjamin Moore. So if we pick the color, which we know the color, we should be able to match that appropriately.
I see. So you will use a color chip to match the existing window color.
Correct.
If they manufacture that color, and they will try to custom made that color to match.
Yes, sir.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And the upcharge in price isn't as much of a concern. It's just the lead time. So that's why we didn't investigate it previously. But
And as an architect, you're confident that they'll be able to do that?
I've done it before. I think their suggestion of having multiple colors for your first scenario, so you get multiple chips back and you're not contending on one. I think that's a great idea because, again, it could take an extra month to our lead times. So we'd hate to be in a position, and everybody would hate to be in a position where we're framed and we're waiting on windows. So it is very creative to work with the right contractor to pre-order that. And the team that I'm working with, the contractor, we do a lot of projects in South Pasadena where we go through these committees and we say we're going to do all this stuff. And then as an architect, you find that a lot of the contractors blow past that. So we do focus on doing the same quality we do in our preparation of plans and going through these committee meetings and execute that with the construction staff.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant's representative? Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, so all the windows that's facing the street, they're not getting touched or repainted, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Committee member Lakon.
I noticed when I was at the house that there are Pella windows in the front. Is there a reason you chose not to go with Pella for the rest of the house?
Yeah, I think that the Sierra Pacific is a superior product. It's the Pella windows it's aluminum clad, but it's like folded over and mitered. The corner is very thin, and the Sierra Pacific is extruded aluminum, so it's just a better quality product. I came from Iowa and I moved out here, and everybody talking about how great Pella was, and I Pella, Iowa, so I went by school by there, and I'm like, no, it's not that great. And then Sierra Pacific just really has a good product, and it used to have good lead times, but no one does anymore. So that's why we chose that.
Okay, so these don't have the mitered corners like Pella.
No.
That's nice. Okay. And then I have one more question regarding, currently I noticed the trash cans are held right behind that little side door.
Yes.
So going forward, I know you're proposing a wood gate,
Yes, we will.
but we won't be able to see through it
Exactly.
anyway. So if the new location for the trash cans will not be visible from the street.
No, I will not.
Okay. Thank you.
Committee Member Chang.
Sorry, just for clarification, the existing driveway is pretty bad shape at this point.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned it, and that they're agreed to replace that.
Yeah, because by the time you finish this construction, it's gonna be
Exactly.
useless.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that the owner and you understand that it will make sense to report a driveway correctly so that we can have a nice development at the end.
Great.
Thank you.
I have a comment to add on to that. But I did notice they had a nice brick pattern in the center of the driveway where maybe it used to be strips or Hollywood driveway.
Sure.
And I think that's a nice feature of that house, especially with such a small lot.
Yes.
The
I
open-
mean, I think we were planning on replacing the back part of the driveway, not affecting that, but I think we are bringing some of that brickwork into the back that's in the front that, I think it adds a little touch. So
Mhm.
I do agree that the driveway in feels nice too.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll now open up the item for public comment. Is
I'm
there
sorry,
anybody
Chair.
here?
Chair, may I ask a quick
of
question? I'm
course.
sorry.
Committee Member Banish.
One quick question. On the rear addition, on that third sort of mini gable. I'm not sure if it's just in the rendering or if it was overlooked, but is there not going to be a little mini vent there, like on the bigger gables? Is that,
I think it was more of just because I felt like it was a little contrived, just that we didn't have a lot of space.
Mhm.
And that room will be like hopefully vaulted. So, because it is a small little bathroom, we were thinking about doing a ridge vault in there. So, I mean, but we could add something decorative, but I just felt like the two prominent ones on the high one made sense.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more questions, we'll open the item up for public comment. Does any member of the public, either here or online, wish to speak on this item? I see no one present. Is there anybody online?
No one online indicating they wish to speak on this item.
No public comments submitted electronically?
None.
Okay. Okay, we'll close the public comment and we will move to committee member discussion. Committee Member Chang.
Thank you, Chair. It's a well-designed project. It's challenging because a lot is so small and you got all the challenges on the existing garage location and the existing home and try to achieve that program. I think the architect and the owner had worked very hard trying to come up with a workable solution, and the end result is going to be fine. I think it will be an improvement to the home, and I can support it.
Thank you. Committee Member Lakon.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Committee Member Chang, and I'd like to thank the architect for a well thought out project. I can support it as proposed, and I would like to make a statement that the Pella window has the mitered corner, and I've talked about this before, but I think that is not compatible in the city. So I appreciate the architect pointing that out. Thank you.
Committee Member Batnij.
If it wasn't for just there's one thing that concerns me. There's actually well, I'll get to the first one first. The first one is just that, again, we have this 10-foot, I understand that the code requires 10 feet but that's a minimum. And I don't think it's like, we're seeing a lot of projects now come up with, where the addition is within 10 feet of, the corner of a garage. And I'm not sure, that might meet some sort of minimum safety requirements, but I don't think it is the safest thing. And we're seeing it a lot. And if it wasn't for that little mini gable that's jutting out, and in addition, we have the same thing as we had in the last DRC, where a meeting on another project or two, where not only is that addition within 10 feet of the garage, but then there's an AC unit, AC condenser, which really functionally makes that even smaller. So that is really my main concern. The second thing is the addition. I know that this isn't a fanciful house or a super detailed example of a Tudor, but it does have a little bit of flair in the front, and the back is by comparison a little bit simple. That's why I was looking for a vent, or maybe a repetition of that bay window in the back that we see in the front. That could be in the back, maybe, or something that would be a little bit more character defining. But really, my main concern is that 10-foot space. Other than that, I think it's well thought out and fairly nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Chow.
Thank you, Chair. Before I went and to the job site, I definitely shared the same concern about the spacing there between the addition and the garage. But I think this project, the way it's designed, they actually reduced the size of the current deck, and the addition is mainly toward one side, away from the garage. So I feel that it does allow the design to have more breathing room there. All things considered, I think I can support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. While I'm sensitive to the concerns that Committee Member Batnich has raised, I do feel that this is a little bit different than some of the projects we've seen where there's a pop out. I didn't feel that this had that element. And given, as Vice Chair Chow mentioned, that it's skewing to one side of the house where we're sort of infringing on what was already there in terms of the deck, I feel that it's been thoughtfully considered, and that the project's, I feel that we can make the finding that it's compatible with itself. So I could support it tonight. Do we have a motion?
Let me give it a try. I would move to approve design review case number DR 23-22 and DR 23-63 and 1917 South Euclid Avenue for the construction per staff report's recommendation.
I'll second that.
May we have a roll call?
Can't hear you.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cho,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 for approval.
Moving on to item number 3 on our agenda.
I'll be recusing myself.
Chair Lakon will recuse herself. And am I correct that we have no alternate committee member present and we will proceed with the four of us, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Item number 3 is design review case number DR 23-44 at 2405 Ridgeway Road. Who is presenting this on behalf of staff?
Our assistant planner, Eric G, will be presenting item number 3.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G presenting case number DR 23-44, 2405 Ridgeway Road. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing wood shake roof with Certainty Presidential Shake Solaris TL in the autumn blend color. The material and color are not found on the city's pre-approved roof material list, colors, and application list, and the project does not meet the prerequisite of having a composition roofing material installed on the existing property. As such, the project is subject to design review. The project is identified as a potential individually significant property as well as a potential district contributor to a potential Huntington Hill Residential Historic District. And the home was built in 1927 as a Tudor revival. There were 11 legal neighbors who did not object to the project and 3 no responses. And for the record, staff would like to clarify a mistake that was made on the staff report regarding the legal neighbors with composition shingle materials that's been installed in the homes. The staff report indicates that there are 2 legal neighbors, 2390 Ridgeway Road and 2375 Ridgeway Road. Only the 2390 Ridgeway Road is the legal neighbor. 2375 Ridgeway Road is just outside of the legal neighborhood. But the project still meets all 4 findings and staff recommends approval with the conditions for composition shingle roofing materials listed on the city's pre-approved roofing material colors and application list. That concludes staff report. Staff is available to answer any questions and the applicant is also present as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner G. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, if I may just ask staff, have we actually seen the color proposed for this proposed tile? Because I want to make sure that the color would work with the existing building surrounding.
Yes, and let me check because I believe we might have the sample here tonight.
Okay.
Yes. So we do have a sample right here if you'd like to take a look.
Okay.
Coincidentally.
So the left is the Solaris and I believe the right is the non-Solaris.
Left the Solaris. Okay. This is non-Solaris. May want to show them that because
Yes, so that material that's being passed around now is the existing wood shake material that's been the existing roof that fell off. Yes. Yeah, so they're both autumn blend. Left is the Solaris, and then the right it will be the non-Solaris.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, is the applicant or applicant's representative here to present on this project? If so, please state your name and address for the record and please speak into the microphone.
My name is Kathy Cunningham and I live at 2405 Ridgeway Road. And I'm going to make it real brief. I don't talk in front of public. So I'm going to wish everybody thinking, now I'm already nervous. Good evening. The one thing about the product I wanted to bring up, that original shake, that's 25 years worth of sun on it. So it is a little bit lighter than what we had picked. So we really like the product. It stopped me in my tracks when I saw it on a house. The color matches what practically what we have right now. And it's pretty much cost effective with the reflection that they have, where it will have the heat radiate off of the roof, which is really something that I was quite intrigued with. That's basically it.
Thank you. Do any committee members have any questions for the applicant? Vice Chair Chow.
Thank you, Chair. What about the wood sidings you have currently on your house? Are you changing any of that?
Oh, you mean the top of the pitch? No, we're
Yes.
keeping that the same.
Okay, and have you visualized, or what do you think about those new roof working with the current wood siding?
I
you
think
think-
it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
We
Um,
kind of, I like the original stuff.
okay. I mean,
ma'am?
you have beautiful vines all covering the walls. Any of the vines going on top of the roof right now?
Yes, we need to get rid of those, but yeah,
Ma'am,
our-
are you speaking to the mic?
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Our contractor asked about those and I said, just rip them down.
Um,
They come back every year.
okay, could you tell us which side of the house you have vines on the roof? Because when I was there, I took some photos around the house. I didn't really see them
Oh,
So-
they're all around the house.
on top of the roof.
Oh, no, on the top of the roof, if they happen to go up there, they'll dry.
Right, no, I'm just trying to figure out. I know they cover the side walls,
Uh-huh.
not the rooftop, not the roof.
No, not the
No.
rooftop, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Committee Member Manish.
Thank you. Kind of following along those lines, asking about the siding that you have, which is natural wood, and how that would look with the different material roof. You have some kind of an accessory structure. I don't know if that's the garage or what, but it's as you're looking at your front door, there's a structure behind it on the right that is, I don't know if that's the garage or
The garage is in the
Yes.
back. It's not attached to the house. It's by the alley in the back.
yeah, is that the only other structure on the property?
There's a little, on top of the garage, there's a little apartment. There isn't another structure. It's just strictly the house and then the garage.
In the garage. Okay, so it must be the garage that I'm talking about. So
Okay.
that is entirely
Separate.
covered. Yeah, that isn't entirely covered with wood, right?
With wood, yes,
Yes.
it's all
Okay,
wood.
so that's also something that would be there's natural wood siding and you would have a different material on the roof.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chair. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
Committee
gonna
Member
ask a
Chang,
quick question. Yeah.
please.
Yeah, the siding is beautiful part of your building and your home. And I think since that's staying, I asked the question earlier about the color. It's important that the final color would work with that siding color.
Mhm.
And now that I see it, I think it will work. So I just want to make sure that that stays as part of the architecture for the entire home.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I'll now open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, does any member of the public wish to speak online, staff?
There isn't anybody.
do we have any public comments that have been submitted electronically on this item?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'll now close public comment and move to committee member discussion. Committee member Batnage.
Yes, I just had the historical survey on this. Here we go. It just went to another page. So I just want to take note because it was not as specific. This was not mentioned as specific in our staff report. So I know that we have many different types of homes in our city that are identified as on the historical assessment, but this one says that the findings are that it appears to be eligible for listing as a City of San Marino Historic Landmark, California Register of Historical Resources, and in the National Register of Historic Places, which is really the highest, as far as I know, is the highest threshold. So as an excellent example of Tudor Revival residential architecture in San Marino. Designed by notable architect William Munsell as his own residence and completed in 1927, and here's the key part, it retains sufficient integrity to express its historical architectural character through the following character defining features. And one of them is the wood shake roof. Wood shingle roof, a steeply pitched gable roof with a prominent front-facing gable and wood shingle roofing. So that's very important, I think, because although I think that we are very generous on this committee of and other city committees in, allowing modifications where they're perhaps not part of the integrity of the architecture. In this case, it is the integrity of the architecture. It is specifically called out, as many Tudors are. But this is a very special home. I've always admired it, actually. It must be really a privilege to live in that home, I would imagine. I think that this is complicated also by the fact that we have the wood siding and the wood roof on the structure. And I just can't imagine degrading the structure in that way by having a different material, especially an asphalt shingle material on the roof. It just doesn't work for me in many, many ways. And I think that there would have to be alternatives looked at.
Committee member Batnage, what were you reading from?
Oh, I was reading, excuse me, from the historical assessment on this home, which was included in our packet.
Thank you. I just wanted that for the record. Vice Chair Chow.
There it is.
We'll move to committee member Chang.
Maybe for the record, it just should be said just that my fellow committee member asked me to see the copy of the historical resource report, not any sort of private notes.
Correct. That was just passed to Vice Chair Chow. We'll move to committee member Chang. Your comments?
Thank you, Chair. One of the next agenda, of course, is try to look at all the roofing potentials and all of that. Obviously, it's a beautiful building and it does has its architecture value and all that was stated in the staff report and also mentioned by the my fellow member. But we have approved projects before that when the material become functionally obsolete and or not easy to be replaced in a lot of cases is because of the shake roof has a challenge on fireproofing. And the I did ask for a independent opinion from the fire department whether they really meet the fire classification on a wood shake roof. And honestly, you're not going to get the wood shake the same color as what we see now. The siding has been aged for such a long time that a new shake roof would take minimum 5 to 10 years to color to the point that it'll look correctly, because it's going to look like a bare cedar roof and it's going to be a lot lighter. So if you look at the aesthetic value, which is what we're looking at today, is make sure that the color and the formation of the roof line would work with the existing architecture. That I don't have any problem with it. So seeing what I see today on the actual sample, and I took picture of the existing home, and I verified that the siding is going to remain, and that siding has been aged for a long time to get to that color. I know, I'm sure it was not that color before. It has been there for a long, long time to get there. So with all the wine and everything, the color, the home has a lot of character. I don't see any problem having the proposed roof to work with the existing architecture elements. So I can approve the application based on what my personal finding and my feeling on the decision. So I would like to hear how the other members and whether the alternate, which is the wood shake, can in fact be a more proper use of the roof material. I would like to listen to that if there is an opportunity.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. This is really kind of a tough one. Committee member Chen just made some really good points. For one, that if we just replace the current roof with wood shingles, it's actually going to stand out quite a bit because of the aging issue. In the meantime, that material is really, I think, in the long run, that's probably the best fit for this home. I'm looking at when I went by the property, if you go to the back alley, you can see some of the wood sidings were replaced. I don't know how recent they were. But the colors do not match the existing sidings, even that they're wood. It probably could be stained, or it just needs a long time to age. So, like I said, I think this is kind of a tricky, but I think it is compatible with the neighborhood, because we do have other homes that have composition shingles. I think it is compatible with the home itself. Wouldn't be my first choice, but I think I can support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we need to have a little bit more discussion, because I am concerned about the issues that have been raised by committee member Batnage. I find that the proposed project is compatible with the neighborhood, because this committee has approved some projects in the legal neighborhood, not that I have voted for, but that they have approved it. And the findings 2 and 3 are essentially not applicable, so those findings can be made. But the question is finding 4, whether the colors and material are consistent and match the existing building or structure, and committee member Batnage's concerns about degrading the structure. So I guess I would like to have some discussion about whether it is material, color, both. We have a very steep roof line. The pitch is very steep. It's very prominent.
what can be done, if anything, to address that?
If I can
Committee
further
member
discuss
Bandage.
this a little bit. So I want to point out, and this is a very tricky case. It's a very unusual situation, and that there's the wood siding, there's the wood shake roof, there's the importance of the structure itself. But I want to point out that there's only one home in the legal neighborhood that is not wood shake, and I personally have driven by that house because I had a lot of concerns about that particular house's roof being changed to that asphalt shingle, but I was also very interested to see how it would look. And personally, I did not think it looked very good. I felt like it did not do its best for that house. It looks a little flat to the extent that I wondered if the actual TL, the triple layer, was installed, or if it was mistakenly maybe the more flat version was. But whatever the reason is, I personally did not find that it did that very handsome home justice. So that's one of my concerns. Like if we're saying, oh, it's compatible because there's one that was a contentious agenda item. Contentious meaning I don't think that we had a lot of, I don't think that we had a lot of, I don't think it was like a 5-0 vote. Let's put it that way, as I recall. But how do we, it's true that if a wood shake roof goes on this, it's going to stick out and the color will look off for a while. It's going to take a few years for it to deepen. And I know this as someone who has been through that. It looks pretty stark when it's first installed, that red cedar or whatever is used. And, it takes time for it to blend in, and it'll be years. So that is an issue. Does it all have to replace along with the siding all at once? Perhaps. I mean, as far as I don't think that we should be here talking about suggesting, with all due respect to my fellow committee member, I don't think that we should be here suggesting that wood shake group is not safe. In the California code, it says that a class A, it defines what a class A wood shake install is, and it's clearly defined, and that is what is approved in our city right now. So I don't think that we can suggest that it's reckless to put that. We're not in, the mountains, and this is what is allowed in the city right now. So, but it's still a very tricky subject. So I agree with everyone. This is not a straightforward issue. I would suggest that maybe other materials be discussed. I'm just not sure that asphalt shingle is the most is going to look the most similar to the wood shake that's there. If we agree that a new roof, a different material roof, is compatible with this structure.
Thank you. Did you have further comment, Committee Member Chang?
I just want to make sure that we, if we want to require this applicant to replace it like for like only, by not consider any other material, I think that may be something that we have to be careful, because we have allowed others to do it. Now, I appreciate that if this application is coming in suggesting to the applicant want to replace with the existing material like for like, I think this body would have no issue with that. Just give time, it will look beautiful. It's fine and good. I just don't know what other material that we can't suggest anything because we don't know what would look good. If you suggest something that you won't approve it later, it's not good either because we are not designing it for them. The owner and the applicant's designer will help them to design the right thing. We can only make decision based on what is in front of us, rather than, well, it doesn't look good. You want to try B, try C or D. That would be dangerous because I don't think that's our job to do it.
Right. I mean, without suggest, if I may speak, Chair, I agree with you. We're here to consider what's in front of us. And we always kind of have this discussion of like, we're not here to design for the applicant. But I think when discussing whether or not what's in front of us is okay, I think the existence of perhaps better alternatives is relevant. So I do want to say that I without mentioning, I guess I'm not sure if, as you said, it can be dangerous to mention alternatives, but I have seen a tutor not quite as elegant and prominent as this particular tutor is, but I have seen a tutor with a different material that is not asphalt shingle that many people have said looks very good. That particular I don't know if it has a lot of wood siding or not, so that's an issue. But there are other materials that I think would be more suitable.
Committee member Batnage, could you elaborate on that? Are you suggesting simulated wood shake, or what are you suggesting?
It is simulated wood shake as just about everything, but not it's one of the lesser. I mean, I don't know, like, can I name this material? I don't want to be suggesting that this, I don't want to be saying to the applicant or even implying that I'm going to vote yes if you suggest this material. Don't want to assure the applicant that it's going to look good. I just want to mention that there's an alternative material which in my opinion would be a better substitute and would look better with the existing wood shingle on the siding.
I don't know if staff did this on purpose, but this is a good segue to the next item. So I think it would be appropriate to provide guidance to the property owner in regards to what they could consider. I think it's obvious that it's not a recommendation, meaning it's not install this and we're going to approve it, because it's one opinion. We still have 3 others. But I also want to remind the group, and I think I want to thank the chair. She went straight to the findings. That's the crux of this. Can this proposal or any other proposal that might come before you, does it meet the findings? And when we talk about compatibility, in the past, applicants have discussed perhaps within their legal neighborhood, there isn't an asphalt shingle property, but outside, which is closer to their home, there is. I think you have to take that into consideration when it's in their legal neighborhood. So I would suggest, one, yes, you could provide some examples, which would then, the applicant can then take into consideration. And whatever decision you make, it has to be made based on whether the project meets the findings or not. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was, no, please go ahead. I've already spoken.
Vice Chair Chow.
Thank you, Chair. So I think that given that the back and forth discussion, I think it's clear, at least my take is that all the members have certain degrees of concern when it comes to the compatibility with the property itself. So if we use that finding, perhaps you could consider a continuance, and because the applicant also has heard enough of our discussion. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to clarify, it's not, as to the roofing projects, the finding is not that the structure is compatible with itself, but that the colors and materials are consistent and match the existing building or structure, which is finding number 4, which is very similar
Correct. Thank you.
but I just want to clarify that. So am I hearing from my fellow committee members that perhaps we want to have a continuance for the applicant to consider some specified or suggested products? Not to say that we wouldn't, just a time period to consider some other options. Is that, I don't want to do I don't think I favor a continuance without some structure to it, without some specificity to it, without some sort of instruction, direction, et cetera.
I think it's very difficult to bake the findings that it's compatible with itself and that the colors and materials are consistent if we have two separate materials on this house. If I am, what's the word? If it's clear that the direction of the rest of this committee would not agree with me on that point, then my suggestion would be to look for that the applicant look at a more compatible material.
And the question is, what is that? So I think that what we have here is concern about finding number 4 with the project as presented, but a recognition that if they were to, as someone said, replace like with like, we don't know what that would look like anyway. It would be so pale, if you will, not weathered for a long time. And that's maybe materials consistent, but color is not consistent. And then we have the wood siding, it's not going to match that. So can we have some direction for this applicant? Committee Member Chang.
Yeah, I guess I think we all share the same concern. At this point, I think we agree on what we do not agree. So, but put myself in the applicant's point of view or her shoes. If we continue it, what's it going to take back today? It really isn't much, because I just said, well, it's not compatible or the color isn't right, and are there material? I think she'll go back to the roofer and start looking for other materials. If they come back with a cedar light, would that be right? If they come back with a slate roof, would that be right? If they come back with a wood shake, would that be right? I think if you feel that the applicant would go back and maybe look at what's on the market, and maybe even from after this later, the last agenda item on the discussion, and then maybe she can pick up something there to say, well, maybe there's an alternative. And what if there is no alternative? And she can come back and say, well, I look at everything, nothing will even come close, because at least at this point, I personally feel that the color would agree to the look. It would, aesthetically would look right. And it would not be a downgrade for the neighborhood, at least from the look of the building. Now, material is that we have approved a lot of projects with that material. So is that a downgrade from the existing wood shake? Historically, maybe it is, but time change. We have to, I think that's why I'm looking forward to the next agenda item, is to find out what is the greatest and the latest in the market, and that we can be working with the neighbors to advance ourselves. I just want to give that.
I think the following discussion may be instructive. Director, it sounded like you were going to, it looked like you were going to say something.
Just to assist the committee, best case scenario for this applicant tonight seems to be a 2-2, which does not move the project forward. Worst case scenario is a 3-1-4-0 vote. But what I'm hearing is that it's really a complex issue. There's not really a right answer to this. Many possibilities. And I do feel that the applicant will get a lot of value during our discussion about the re-roof material. So I think really everything's on the table for this applicant right now. Their existing proposal, plus whatever other materials that they might feel are appropriate for replacing their existing roof, even the existing material. So I think what's probably best is to continue this project to a date uncertain. I think at that time, you will have a 5-member group at the same time. So I think whatever happens at that meeting, you probably have a definitive vote which will provide a determination for the project.
Thank you. I appreciate that direction, and I would ask for a motion.
If I may, before we propose a motion, since you mentioned that, you know, it wouldn't be considered a recommendation or whatever, as far as other materials go, the I think concrete tiles might look, you know, better than asphalt in this situation. I think there's a material called Cedur. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but I think it's CEDUR. I've seen that on a Tudor from a wood shake. It looks fantastic, and people comment on it, how great it looks. It was installed in the last couple of years in our city. I think that also, as was mentioned, since we're in warm weather still, and it doesn't look like it's going to rain in the next month or two, it might be possible perhaps that there will be other materials that we may be able to choose from if that gets passed expeditiously.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
A couple of points, asking the applicant to consider other materials, like if they considered cedar, Da Vinci, boral, all of those things are approvable over the counter. And so, it wouldn't even come back for you. Let's say they changed their mind tomorrow and they wanted to do cedar instead. Like, it wouldn't come back to you anyways. And even if we update these materials, go through the timeline, we have to couple meetings with DRC, we have to go back to Planning Commission. We're talking about at minimum 3 months for a revised pre-approved roof update. So in general, a lot of applicants express concern about timelines, even continue this to 2 weeks when maybe there's not a change, or, maybe the applicant is not going to change their preference already. He's coming in not changing their preference. In the past, the committee has asked the applicant if they're amenable to a continuance or amenable to critiques or suggestions. I don't know if it's a conversation you want to have with the applicant.
If it's appropriate, if director and staff agree, I think that we should speak with the applicant and see if they would be amenable. Maybe this is a continuance to a date certain and not to a date uncertain.
Sure. You would have to reopen the public hearing, and you can ask you can engage with the applicant.
Okay. Then I would move to reopen the public hearing and ask if we could speak with the applicant again, if the applicant would come forward. Having heard the conversation and understanding the sensitivities of the committee because of the prominence of your home and the do you have any response to any of this, and would you be interested in listening and observing the following presentation that's on the very next agenda item this evening?
Okay, I've been looking at roofs for 3 years. And I've looked at, and I have worked with Eric quite a bit, and I really couldn't find any that really I liked as much as I did the shingle roof. I will have to think about this. There were some other things we were interested in, and you wouldn't see us again, but I don't know. And the issue is, I did not want wood anymore because of the fire. It cannot be, I think after 5 years, the fire retardant or whatever is off of it. We literally had a fire across the street from us a year ago in July, and that scared me. And also the insurance issue with wood is another reason. So my husband would like to speak.
If you
Hello, my
could give
name
your
is Keith
name.
Schler. I live at 2405 Ridgeway Road. I just wanted to address the vice chair drove in the back of the home on the garage, and he noticed different colored wood. Vice chair, it's not cedar. These are redwood planks. and I'm trying to replicate the color of those redwood planks. And when I'm using different types of, not stains, but there's different types of iron with vinegar to match the aging. So right now I have 4, so you've caught me in the test right now. As you can see, the redwood degrades. It's been there for almost 100 years. I'm trying to preserve it, but I can't. The corners are getting frayed. So I'm having to replace these smaller pieces as you saw in the garage. And that's why it looks odd. I apologize.
I really appreciate that insight. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if we got a clear direction on that.
I would recommend closing the public.
We'll close the public comment at this time and I'll ask for a motion.
Chair, if I may, I think it seems like it makes sense. We leave it open and suggest a continuance. And from what I heard, applicant is probably has some other thoughts, so could be an over-counter thing.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for continuance?
Just to read the numbers, yeah. I'll move to, are we going to do it for a date certain?
I would recommend uncertain, but it's to the pleasure of the committee.
You would recommend uncertain?
Correct.
Okay,
Okay,
given, that's fine.
okay. So I move to continue for design review case number DR 23-44 at 2405 Ridgeway Road to a date uncertain.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
May we have a roll call?
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cho,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 for continuance to a date uncertain.
Thank you. And we'll move to agenda item number 4, which is consideration of the pre-approved roofing material list update. And who is presenting this from staff?
I will be presenting item number 3, or I'm sorry, item number 4, Associate Planner Camila Martinez. This is for the consideration of the pre-approved roofing material list update as the DRC's recommendation to the Planning Commission. Some history is that originally this entire process started in 2020. It went through one round of review. The products that staff previously suggested through a previous ad hoc committee was something that the Planning Commission decided to reject and start over again. Therefore, we reopened the ad hoc committee, and the new ad hoc committee members consist of, at the time, Chair Brody, who is now Commissioner Brody, and Commissioner Dustin. Recently, on April 5th, 2023, staff asked the DRC as part of a discussion, knowingly that we were going to bring this list back to you, what the DRC wished to see as part of our staff's presentation to the committee, which was, providing samples, making some minor tweaks to and typos and corrections to the existing list, and making sure that the existing list was up to date and not outdated. And all of those specific questions and concerns were outlined in the staff report. And then the ad hoc committee provided staff with their recommendations of updates to the list, which we listed in our staff report, the various manufacturers, most of them being simulated wood shakes. And we have the samples here and everything else for you, including the brochures available for you to review. As a whole, staff is asking the DRC to start the discussion and provide recommendation for staff as to what you would like to see at an upcoming meeting to continue this discussion. And if there's any specific questions or concerns about certain products or items that we maybe don't have here that you would like us to look into, we can bring forth at a future meeting. If at the chair's pleasure, if you want to take around 15, 20 minutes to look at the material we have listed or shown here in these front tables and for the public to view as well. We have the name card, the blue name cards on them for the specific manufacturer, and in the red under it is the colors. And we have majority of all the colors that were needed and definitely all the samples for the new and existing products on this table.
Thank you very much, Associate Planner Martinez. So we're going to take,
Can I have just a couple minutes?
yes.
Oh, actually, not less than that. First off, I want to thank staff, Associate Planner Martinez, Assistant Planners G and Sasunian. They were out there, they were trying to get the latest and greatest, talking to manufacturers. I also want to thank the Ad hoc Planning Commission Committee. They put a lot of effort into this. It's been a long time. Unfortunately, because of COVID and not being able to talk to each other, it was really limited. And so I want to thank all of them because really everything that you see here is possible through all that hard work. Again, just echoing the comments from Associate Planner Martinez, the idea here is not to select anything tonight, no decisions. It's just to introduce the subject, have your intake, any recommendations. I know some of you are probably holding back some notes. So anything that you can provide to us so that we can come back to you at a future date to hopefully either get a decision at that meeting or at least get us closer to a decision for the recommendation to Planning Commission, who ultimately will review and decide what will get approved. Just to finish, all the planners that I just mentioned, they deal with the public every day at the counter, and there's frustration. There's frustration at the limited amount of choices, the procedures, and so forth. So our goal here is to do what we can to continue the architectural excellence that the city is known for, but at the same time be customer service friendly and be able to provide our residents the best options that we can. So appreciate it, and thank you for your hard work on this.
Appreciate that very much. And we know this is over 3.5 years in the works and represents many, many hours of thought, consideration, and effort. So we're going to take a 15-minute recess. We're going to have an opportunity to look at all of this before us, and then we'll have a chance to ask questions of staff and then have public comment, correct? Okay, so we'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you. Are we allowed to talk amongst ourselves over there? We're not really. Okay. Okay.
Still, right.
It's still an agenda.
That's all. This is all asked.
they hired me as a special project liaison. So I said, okay.
This is consideration of the pre-approved roofing material list update. So I think at this point, do any committee members have questions for staff? Committee Member Chang.
I just want to thank staff for spending so much time and effort to put this together because a lot of this material are fairly new and of course this is right after the pandemic and you can see how difficult it is. Most manufacturers stopped producing anything during the last 2.5, 3 years and even trying to get this thing together is a big job. I know some of the products are pre-approved, some of the products are not approved yet. I just want to have a better understanding on the application side because they are showing you a small piece of sample like that product and that there, I forgot the name of it, but next to the Da Vinci one. The Da Vinci one comes in with a fairly long piece and they stagger and they worked out the staggering and also the lapping and the thickness. So when it's done, it looks quite attractive. The one next to it, it looks about the same, but it doesn't have the detail of the information. I think if we were to ask them to pre-approve this on the pre-approved list, we probably need to have the manufacturer's representative to share with us how they lap with the installation detail and method so that we can include that into our pre-approved list criteria. That I think is important.
Committee Member Chang, could you specify the product that you're talking about?
Yes.
I think it's the Enviro Shake.
Is that the environment?
And maybe even the eco shake.
Right there. Exactly. This is a small piece of a sample. If they all come in like that, it will be challenging to get it right.
And for the record, that is Assistant Planner Sisunian.
This is Enviro Shake in the, I believe, aged cedar color.
Okay.
Right.
You would want to talk to the
What I don't
manufacturer's
understand is that
representative.
do they come in pieces like this?
Yeah.
Variable size.
Or they come in already pre-assembled with about 5, 6 pieces, a 6-foot length, and then they install it per piece of 6 foot, and they overlap. I know the Da Vinci one. I know they do that. Oh yeah.
It's a big piece.
Oh yeah, long piece, and they overlap. So they don't. It's not like piece by not like a real tile. It's like 12 by 12 piece. They don't. They come in with a large piece, but they are already pre-designed and pre-manufactured so that they look natural. So it's very important to understand from the manufacturer how they come in, how they lap, and how they install. And do they have a chance to stagger them? Sometimes they have a 1-inch stagger, sometimes 1/2-inch stagger, sometimes they install them straight. Very important to get the detail. Thank you. Yeah.
So am I
Thank
hearing
you.
that you would like the manufacturer to come and explain that?
Right before if we were to
Consider it?
adopt all this to be on the pre-approved list, I think we need to be fair to our citizens and to understand how they work, because the outcome may not come out like what we saw.
Okay.
Very critical, the
And-
installation.
And for the manufacturer's rep, since we don't have it in the city, to bring us addresses to,
If
for
they
us.
already done it, we like to
I
see
mean,
that,
somewhere
of
in
course.
other neighboring cities.
Any other comments or questions for staff? I think in addition to having materials that have been pre-approved, materials that have not been pre-approved, we have materials that have been pre-approved, but the colors, there's some additional colors that have been presented here.
that haven't been pre-approved. Committee Member Batney.
Oh, yeah, I thank you, Chair. I was just wanted to also thank staff and also the committees that have been working on this, I think on and off. Thank you. I think members of the Planning Commission have worked on this for several years. This was really helpful to be able to see them. And are you going to keep these so that we can perhaps see them some other time, or do you have to return them immediately?
No, these are all cities products. The public's available to view them. Committee commissioners are available to view them as well. And we'll keep them on until the final decision, and then we'll see what happens then.
So I was really happy also to see in terms of giving feedback, there's several asphalt shingles. I liked one or two that have like a really big, that sort of have heft and thickness to them, because that's a lot more realistic. There's one over there that's very, very thin that I personally wouldn't want it to even be considered. But there's a couple of new colors there. I don't know what detail or feedback you want now versus later.
Well, so any detail you could give us now to help you with the future meeting, because we are, at the end of the day, the DRC is recommending it to the Planning Commission, which they'll probably review for 2 more meetings, just so we can not expedite the process, but make it a more fluent process. Anything you want us to bring that we can prepare for you. And this is also not only including the materials we have here, that's one aspect of the update. The second aspect of the update, and I don't know if the committee has had the chance to look at, is even the special requirements, or even the conversation of, allowing comp shingle or not to more houses rather than coming to the DRC. All of that discussion is available to change. So those special requirements, as stated, and the Title 24 and everything else that comes with it, the variety of colors, should you wish to pick more, pick less, that's all part of this update.
In addition to that, if there are any materials here, you just flat out say no, let us know too. That way we don't waste our time and your time.
Committee Member Lakon.
There is the material on the back table is not recommended, but I did notice the ones that are there, and the DECRA is the same as one is up here also. I saw DECRA back there. And then there's the eagle next to it in the back, and the eagle I would not recommend. I'd like to see that removed, and the DECRA could be considered.
Can you repeat what you want to be removed?
Eagle. I think it's a concrete tile.
And I think it would probably be best if obviously you don't want it, but if.
Oh, right. We have to vote on it.
Right.
Decide. Well,
We're just
it's
beginning
not
our
my choice.
discussion right now, correct? We're just
Correct.
beginning our
This is my
discussion.
opinion.
But
Yeah.
duly noted. But if we get a consensus of that, then we'll make sure not to bring that back.
I think that Committee Member Lakon can state it for the record as your comment, and it can be so that we can be for future discussion. I mean, but I don't think tonight we're making any final decisions. And on that same note, I noted that this Woodmore Woodcrest, the Woodmore looked much more substantial than Woodcrest. I don't think I could consider Woodcrest. And I don't know if I can approve Woodmore, but Woodcrest seemed very thin to me. Any other comments or questions for staff?
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I think because we got quite a few different material here, I think it will be better organized if we continue our discussion on the type of roofing first. For instance, if you want to talk about asphalt shingle, everything on that end is all asphalt shingles. I do see some that we should not approve.
Okay.
We almost 80-90% of the project we approved so far are the TL product, because it's triple layer and it shows some thickness. And that's the reason why we would even consider those. Anything that was single layer, they would look basically incompatible with the city of all the homes. So I would say maybe we should eliminate some of those for the pre-approved list. Period.
So that's very well taken. So do we have a consensus, given how we've approved?
Can I ask?
Shake,
Go
go
ahead.
Can I ask a question about the, are we going to do that? Where we talk about one?
well, Committee Member Chang is suggesting a category.
Yes.
Category.
Right. If we can just do the asphalt shingle, then we move on to the synthetic.
And I don't know if we can cover all of them tonight, but
Right.
maybe we can start with
Oh.
the composition shingle.
So I think what we can do, kind of similar to a normal project, is probably, if you have any questions for staff, let us know right now. Open it up to public comment,
Okay,
and then we can get into discussion, or you can get into deliberation in terms of how, if any items you would like tonight, just to get over with,
okay,
you know.
okay. So for now, any comments or questions for staff before we go to the public?
Oh, yeah, I have a question for staff.
Okay, Committee Member Lakon?
Oh, what is the reason that we have so many composition shingle options now? Like, why did we bring in GAF and Owens, I believe?
Those were all recommendations from the ad hoc committee.
Is there a reason that you would use one over the other, or are they all generally, do they look the same? Like, they all look, they look kind of the same, but I know that Certainty is a high quality roof. But so is there something that wasn't offered in the Certainty that is offered in the Owens and the GAF that is a different color or a different
So, as staff wasn't the ones who selected these materials, I don't know the exact specification differences between them or why.
What I do know is that the ad hoc committee was looking for durable, aesthetically pleasing materials that they felt were compatible with the city, and I believe those the main reasons why they chose those.
And then is it correct then that there is nothing that's presented here tonight that the ad hoc committee didn't want to be in the mix?
So what was included in your packet was the pre-approved list with the yellow highlighted, and those were all the items that the ad hoc committee recommended.
Okay.
Staff added additional that we had accumulated through time to offer additional options for the committee to review. And you had a mixture of both.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Committee Member Batnage, did you have a question?
I was just gonna mention the ones that I would prefer not to be on the list. but
So I
are we
think we'll
waiting for
reserve that for discussion.
Okay, got it.
But are there any comments or questions for staff right now? If not, let's open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this agenda item? If so, come up to the microphone, please speak directly into the microphone and give your name and your address. And we're going to limit each comment to 3 minutes with the assistance of staff.
Yes, my name is Michael Johnson. I live at 1300 Bellhaven Road here in San Marino. And the reason I'm standing here after going through all this is that I have some pictures to hand out. And I think there's only 7 or 8 there, so everybody can't get one, but the effect, I think you got, save one for me. Save one for me. What you'll see there is this house, that's a picture I just took yesterday or the day before, whichever. And I was told about this and I went over and went to look at it. And from where you are standing there now, you can't tell whether that is wood or something else. And it is clearly something else. It's the tile, pardon me, it's the stone-coated steel that I've advocated. It's far less weight than anything else. It lasts longer. I've talked to people who had this stone-coated steel on their house for 50 some years. It still looks, they say, like it did when it was installed. Not this particular one, but that's what they have. The other thing that brought this picture really hit me in the head was I talked to the owner, and she said, "Oh yes, we had a wood roof on here for 10 years, and this year our insurance company, Allstate, said they would not renew the insurance with a wood roof. So we looked and looked, took off the wood, put on the stone-coated steel. Stone-coated steel being light, you don't have to reinforce the house or anything of that sort, and away you go. So that's, I think it's ought to be, we already have 2 approved in San Marino over a long period of time, or 2 years. We ought to have it on the approved list someplace. I was looking at the material back here, and apparently they have lots of colors. The one sitting here is very black. I don't like that, but this looked great, I thought. So that's, hope you look in. It would be wonderful to have it on the pre-approved list.
Well, thank you very much. And this is a home in Arcadia, correct?
Yeah, the address is there. San
Yes.
Carlos Road dead ends up into Orange Grove. The house is about 2 houses below Orange Grove.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this agenda item? Please come forward and state your name and address and speak into the microphone. And each item will be 3 minutes, or each comment will be 3 minutes.
Hi, John Dustin, Planning Commissioner. I just thought since I'm here, I'd maybe answer some questions that came up about why we did some of these. And it really was, honestly, some of them, it was really hard to tell what they were going to look like from a brochure or looking at something online. And the only way to get a physical sample was to say, hey, can we see this? So that's why some of these things, and even me looking at some of these now would say, no, I wouldn't. So it wasn't anything mischievous, but that's really what it was. So.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all of your work on this.
I just wanted
Much
to say thank you
appreciated.
to city staff, because it is wonderful to see all these physical products now after us just sort of mentally straining over these. So have fun with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, do we have any members of the public, yes, who are appearing online?
Any member online wishing to speak? Seeing none, no.
Okay, do we have any public comments that have been submitted electronically?
Oh, well, there was a public comment that we already put to the record by Mr. Johnson, and then we had a second public comment by Committee Member Torgerson.
Correct. And are those already are those already part of the record?
They're part of not the original agenda, but part of the supplemental documents under the agenda page of the city website. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no further public comment, then I will close the public comment section and we will move to committee member discussion. And I would welcome my fellow committee members' thoughts on maybe delineating what we're going to discuss tonight and not getting too wide ranging and free ranging. Do we want to discuss comp shingle? Perhaps as a category?
Commissioner Dustin kind of mentioned it, hit it right at the spot by saying that now that we've seen some of the material, that it really should never be there. I think it will make sense for us to at least individually identify what should not be there as a peer-approved list. I think any resident has the opportunity, right, to come and present anything that they want. And then we will have to look at it and value it and see if they meet all the criteria. For a peer-approved item, we relying staff to look at that and see how appropriate it is. So in order to do that, at least we know that as long as it's appropriate for that style of architecture, it will be fine. The final outcome would be right. So it's important for this body to at least look at it before and together with the planning commission to adopt a peer-approved list. I think once we eliminate some of the products should not be there, we should, for the ones that's already peer-approved, and see if there's any issue. If not, we'll keep them there, any improvement. For those that are new items that are going into the peer-approved list, I would personally suggest the manufacturer's representative, the knowledgeable one, to come and present it in front of this body. Let us ask all the technical questions about how that should be installed so that those additional information should be part of the peer-approved list conditions. So we can make so the roofer would install them correctly, at least meeting those. And I think with that said, then we should open a discussion about this DECRA roof, the metal roof. Is that something that this body would consider that to be on the peer-approved list? Or should it be looked at individually? When an applicant come in, is that style right for the metal roof? And also, I also want to find out from the DECRA roof how long has been in the market and what is the earliest one that they install, because they used to fail when these the protection coating start fading and start losing and start flying off. They come off, and then all of a sudden you see spots of a metal roof, and that would be a disaster. So this is something that we need to do our due diligence to make sure that that does not happen on our peer-approved list after 3 years or 5 years.
And before I move on with committee member discussion, are you suggesting if we have the manufacturer's representatives come and talk about how their particular product's installed, we also want to see it manifested. We also want to see examples where it's actually on, correct? So that we can know, so that we can see, it's one thing to take their word for it, but let's see it in real life, how it looks once it's installed.
I think that is our due diligence to do at least that, to see a actual product install and how it looks like, and see how they fit, what type of architecture will fit, and then talk to the manufacturer's representative to figure out, is it a brand new product? It's been there for 5 years, and what is the latest one they got installed, or the earliest one they got installed, so we can see the difference. That would be my suggestion to get new product on the list.
Thank you. Committee member Lakon.
And I also wanted to know how long the product has been on the market, since we haven't, some of these I've never heard of. So I would, it's going to take some time to do some research on our own and maybe visit some of the roofing material sites. The one in Pasadena I have visited a few times to talk. I mean, something we can do on our own. I've gone in there and talked to the roof salesmen, since they're selling all different lines. I feel like they're giving me an unbiased assessment of the different materials, the pros and the cons of all of them. So I think that would be something that we could take this list and do our own research. Since, like I said, some of these we've never seen before, it would be hard to put it on the pre-approved list so quickly, because the residents are expecting this to be a quality product that we could stand behind, correct?
If I may just add one more comment. I mean, at one time there was a product called Cal Shake, and they were a hero for a short time. Actually, for quite a long time.
We had one.
Everybody said, "Hey, this is the greatest thing. It's a composite material." But once they start failing, they start disintegrating, and it become a disaster for our city, because we said, "Oh, that's the best product," and we recommend it to some degree to the we pre-approved it. So residents rely on that, and then they start failing. Manufacturer went bankrupt. We got a lot of homeowners got stuck with that, and then end up buying new roof again. So we just need to do our due diligence to make sure that we have done at least that part to say that, well, we can say the pre-approved because there's proven projects that were at least meet their claim. So that's the reason why I said that.
Thank you very much. Committee Member Batnage.
Yes, so I agree that I'm not really sure exactly what this meeting was what was supposed to happen, but from my point of view, I have a few that I would personally not like to see even be considered. I think there is some consensus that there's a few that we perhaps there's consensus I've heard already from a couple of people up here. So I suppose that might be helpful to the staff and to the planning commission, perhaps for them to perhaps if we have consensus on this committee to eliminate 1, 2, or 3, or however many there would be, if we're ready for that. Ultimately, before actually putting anything on the pre-approved list, I very much agree. I would want addresses of new installs, and I also want addresses from 10 or 20-year-old installs. I think that material, that kind of information is available. I think that it might be available within our city and with our neighbors. Because we want to see a 10-year install and see how that looks. It's not crazy. As far as, I don't know if this is something that we want to do, but I'll just throw out the ones the ones that I see here that I would personally not want to see advanced to any further to any further consideration. It would be but everything on the back table, the Eagle and the DECRA. And then as far as the wood shingles go, it would be the Woodland, the GAF Woodland, and the Wood Crest. The Wood Moor was more substantial. I think that's their version of the TL maybe. And the Wood Crest was notably thinner. And since they seem to be kind of in the same, they're the same family or whatever, they have them on the same samples. I think that we could eliminate the Wood Crest because it's just thinner than the Wood Moor. Yeah. Those are my my comments.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think my main question is that are we trying to do a deep dive today, start to do the elimination? Are we all ready for that? Or, I mean, how many steps do we see? Do we get another chance to revisit all the materials and at that time starting to do our inventory, so to speak?
Well, I think this is our beginning of our discussion, and I think it's important to get some overall comments as we've had from the other committee members. And I think there's nothing wrong with, as Committee Member Batnage is suggesting, maybe eliminating some things from discussion to make this a little bit streamlined the next time we discuss it. But I don't think we can't cover everything tonight.
Yeah, that's certainly fine. I'm in agreement with what I've heard so far, most of it. So yeah, if any members want to start to name whichever material they would like to eliminate, so I think we can certainly do some of that, start that process, right?
And I would just agree with my fellow committee members. We can't consider these new materials in a vacuum. We would need the manufacturer's representative to come and speak with us. We would need to see it in place on a roof. And then it's very concerning to think about being party to approving something to be on a pre-approved list where there isn't a history or record of the product, and then to find out, as my fellow committee members have mentioned, I mean, all of a sudden the manufacturer's in litigation and we've got something on the pre-approved list that has turned into, more of a detriment than anything. In the interest of adding options for the residents and for the homeowners of the city, we don't want to add something too hastily. Okay. So are there any other, I appreciate Committee Member Batnij's comments on products she does not want to see. Does anybody else want to speak on that?
Well, I will make a comment on the comp shingle. When I had talked to the roofing supplier, the material suppliers, and I had talked about certainty, and the thought was that it is the top of the line. It's been around a long time, and it has the history, and that it is superior to the other brands. And when I asked this a while ago, is there anything we're missing with the other? And due to the fact that this product is it's a good product, and that the other products weren't as good, but and also the availability was the products were available with certainty. So I don't know if we need to have such a wide range of other asphalt shingles when as a city, most of us don't really care for the look of the asphalt shingle. And they're trying to keep the quality of the homes looking very nice. So I think we should make sure we stick with the highest quality in the asphalt shingle world. So that's why I'm really concerned about so many options. And it's hard for me to see from here. And if we really want to eliminate some of them, I think we should probably do that tonight. And even our planning commissioner, Dustin, said there was one on there that he maybe wouldn't have selected once he saw it in real life. So I would like to just keep the certainty, and I would opt to let the other ones go just based on the fact that I don't know them very well. So if there's someone here who wants to keep another one, 2 or 3, then let's identify those.
Well, the presidential TL means triple layer, correct? And I can we agree amongst ourselves that if we don't have that durability, quality, and thickness, we're probably not going to be approving it. Can we agree on that?
I agree.
Architecture.
I think it's very critical that we hold the highest quality of asphalt shingle roof. It's available in the market, that we would even consider and have it on the pre-approved list. All the others, people get them because they are quick and easy, and it's the cheapest cost. Aesthetically, when they're that thin, it looks like it just like a wallpaper on the roof. It just doesn't quite do aesthetically what we want in the design guideline. That's our challenge. So I would not consider that as a pre-approved material.
But in addition to the flatness of the effect, we're talking about something that is going to be regret after a few years because it's going to fail. I mean, it's
not going to last as long.
Yeah,
right.
You're right. So
They also have the opportunity to come in anyway. Let's say they design a ultra contemporary home, that maybe some of these asphalt shingle roof will do justice to that because how the style looks like. They can always come in and the body can look at it and see if that is the right fit for it, which is fine. But most of our homes are very traditional. That thickness and that shadow line become a very critical element that I think we should at least consider that part to be on the pre-approved list. And I think staff can make that decision once they pick the right style home, and they can do it without any major difficulty or problem.
Remember Laycott? I thought you had another comment. I mean, if you would look at finding number 4, the colors and materials are consistent and match the existing building or structure. It's impossible to imagine a replacement with something that's that flat affect that yeah.
I was just, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if anyone, perhaps Committee Member Chang, has experience with the GAF Grand Sequoia, because out of all of them, I think that was, if I wrote down the correct one, that was the one that seemed closest to the TLs at least on first glance, and I'm not familiar with it at all.
I appreciate that. GAF has been in the market for a long time also. I think they have good product. I think if we were going to want to consider that, I would recommend a representative from GAF to come and talk to us and understand the installation and the warranty period, and also look at the thickness of the best product and see if that would be something that we can give the residents a choice of two manufacturers, rather than say, well, we just say, you got to buy presidential TL. Sometimes the perception doesn't look right, because why would the committee always say that we'll get that one? So yeah, I would say, let's talk to GAF and see if they will come and talk to us. I would support that.
I would just say specifically, if that were to happen, I wouldn't want to get a sales pitch about Woodland, which is very flat. And I wouldn't want to hear about Timberline either. I mean, I'm just saying that out of all of the asphalt shingles, the only one that appeared to have some of the heft and thickness was the Grand Sequoia. I'm not sure if the other committee members agree, or if the other committee members have had the chance to look closely.
Can I ask a question? Oh, is that the one that has a little different cut to it? Okay, that Grand Sequoia. I was thinking of the one that's right. That is, no, over here. That has a little edge that's cut out. I thought that's what she was referring to. No, not that one. Not in it's a different shape altogether. It's more like a landmark. Those are all Grand Sequoias? Okay. Okay, so that is the Grand Sequoia. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from my fellow committee members?
I thought that one looks substantial as well.
Yeah, it does have a very good shadow line. So that would be something that we can talk to the manufacturer.
I think we have a consensus view on that.
And can they hold the ones up that we'd like to eliminate?
So for clarity purpose, could one of staff please confirm the ones that we want to eliminate? Yes, let's identify.
So this is GIF Woodland. Right there. That's fine.
So you can see that in real life, it's just like a coat of paint.
I think we have consensus
It
view on
feels
this,
like that,
correct?
so it's not good.
Correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
We can eliminate those.
For the record, that's eliminated. Turn the tile over.
So this is the JF Timberline HDZRS, which is similar to the landmark look, the Certainty Landmark TL. Yeah.
I think we have consensus
Yes.
view on this. This is
Then-
eliminated.
Yeah.
And we don't have landmark. Do we have we have landmark here? Because I know it's still on the list, but we have it, the samples here.
Yeah, the samples are here.
Okay, for landmark. Okay.
The new ones. So then the next one is the GIF Woodmore, or yeah, that one.
But I think we agreed Woodmore was fine and the other one, Crest, was not.
Okay, which one is?
So the left-hand side, I believe, is what the Woodmore, and the right-hand side is the Woodcrest.
Yeah, the Crest is much thinner.
This is the same style as the other GAF Grand Sequoia and the Certainty Presidential TL. This is the same cut. It's gonna look the same. I mean, I'm saying not the same, but it's the same design. So we're off this, to me, these should go. I would like to eliminate
Because we
already
have Grand
have,
Sequoia.
we already have nice, very nice options. That why this isn't as nice. And so why,
There's two here. I just want to make clear. The one on the right is too thin.
see, neither one of them look very good to me.
Do we have another one from the same manufacturer, correct?
The
The Grand Sequoia. So given that we have that, should we eliminate this one?
Well, this one's Owens Corning, which is a different than GAF. It's a different
Wait,
manufacturer.
Which one is, I thought it said GAF on that.
No, the logo is red, like it looks the same, but it's a different brand. That's Owens Corning.
it's
Oh, I
Owens
thought
Corning?
yeah, that
Okay.
doesn't look, that doesn't, is it the same quality as the Grand Sequoia and the presidential TL?
We would have to look into that. I don't know off the top of my head.
So maybe we can suggest to have GAF do one presentation one
And Owens
time,
Corning.
and Owens Corning come next time. We can compare the
But just
two
those
and pick
two?
the better of the two, or better one of the two
Okay.
to add that into our peer review.
It doesn't, for some comparison and contrast and to make it clear that when we're, okay,
It also seems to be
Would that
fair,
work?
fair to the manufacturers.
Okay.
okay. Anything else that we're eliminating? Is that all?
I think we talked
Committee
about
member
all of it.
Lakon, I think you wanted the
DECRA is the stone,
but are we eliminating that tonight?
no, the one that's in the back table, the one that the two letters came in for. Oh, Eagle, I wanted to eliminate.
When I spoke earlier, I had said that personally, I did not like either of those materials in the back, neither the Decora nor the Eagle. Other committee members may have different opinions.
I would like to further discuss the DECRA as an option. And I do, maybe we can just eliminate the Eagle or not
think we
illegal.
Yeah, I think we should keep the DECRA.
And
Yeah.
what about the Eagle? Just get the Eagle out of the way.
Which one are you holding up?
DECRA.
Assistant Planners Association.
This is the DECRA metal roof.
Okay, and committee member Lakon's referring to Eagle.
Eagle is more of a concrete tile, sort of like a.
We're
cedar
trying
light.
to streamline and eliminate.
So they're different materials completely. One is concrete and one is metal. So this is Eagle, and my memory serves me that this was on the list a long time ago, and that I've seen roofs that I believe are Eagle, and it is not as nice looking as Cedar Light. And I thought it was eliminated
agree.
for a reason because it wasn't
Okay.
it's a higher quality product, but
Do we have consensus for you to eliminate Eagle?
Is it on the list now?
It is
Eagle tile
not-
on the, huh?
It is not on the list and it was not a recommendation from the ad hoc
okay.
committee.
But they
Okay.
had the samples. in
Okay,
there.
We
so we
had
just
had
happen to have the
samples, yeah.
sample.
So I
So
say
do we
no.
have consensus for you to eliminate it? Okay, yes.
Chair, if I may just share that, concrete tiles were here in the 80s and 90s, very popular because they looked good. But because of the weight, unless they were able to make it with the really lightweight, most of the homes built early days would not be able to support the weight. During the major earthquake in the 80s, we lost, I was personally involved in doing the estimate for all the roof, because when they got that much weight on top of the roof, when the earthquake comes, it just completely level off the connection between the roof and the wall. So unless they can come back and tell us what the weight is and whether we can structurally support them, I would eliminate them.
Okay, I think we have consensus for you to eliminate it because it wasn't recommended by the planning commission anyway. Okay, so that one's eliminated. All right,
Aesthetically, I don't think it suits the city well.
okay. So I think we need to bring this conversation to a close, this discussion to a close. So is there something else that we want to eliminate?
No, but can we finish the discussion on DECRA?
Yes, but let's keep it quick. So I'll start with committee member Chang and go through.
Looking at in the future, having recyclable material, being green and all of that as an architect, I would say maybe that's something in the future. It's almost like electric cars and Tesla and all of those. I would at least give the opportunity of DECRA's manufacturer to come and talk to us one time. I'd like to talk to them about whether there's any new development, because this material will be fully recyclable. After 10, 15 years, when you don't want it, you take it out, you recycle, it comes back like 80% or 90% of your material still there. And you can use it again. So looking for that environmental cycle is something that we should look forward and at least understand. And also we already approved a few projects in San Marino. I like to have the opportunity to go back and look at those with staff's help and see how they hold up and see how they look like today.
Thank you.
At least about 4 or 5 years ago, I think, that we have approved and installed those already.
Thank you. Committee Member Lakon.
Yeah, I would like to have the manufacturer come back for DECRA. And I know we've approved DECRA and Tilcor. And I think it's clear that the Tilcor is not desirable and that the DECRA was the better of the two. And the two that I recall we approved, I thought the one on Lorraine looked good. I thought it looked like wood. So I was pleased with that one. And then I have looked at the one on Hamid, and it's very hard to see on the roof. And then the garage is in the far back. But that was the letter that we got from Committee Member Torgerson, and she's very pleased with the roof. So I think that as an option for homeowners, I think it would, if we can find one that's aesthetically pleasing, that this one would maybe be the one to add to the list with comp shingle and wood and real wood.
Thank you. Committee Member Batnij.
I mean, I'm willing to look at it again.
Vice Chair.
Yes, I also like to keep it in the run because I think it's potentially a very good option to have.
Thank you. So just for staff, sounds like we would like to speak with manufacturers of GAF, Owens Corning and DECRA. And then is it clear which ones we've eliminated? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all of your work and this. It's been an amazing presentation. Very, very professional.
Chair, may I ask just what is the plan for discussion of all of those other materials that we didn't mention at all tonight? Like the ones that are all on the.
Well, we
I
can
mean, we
discuss them
mentioned-
if there's anything we want to eliminate right now, but I just don't want to get too far into it. Director, do you
Yes,
agree?
okay, so yeah, I personally didn't have anything to eliminate there. I just wanted to make sure that we were not.
We have a
ignoring.
whole other, we're going to have
Okay.
another session of this.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah. If not at the next meeting, then in 2 meetings. Yeah, it's going to revisit on our agenda.
The one thing I wanted to mention, and it doesn't have to be answered tonight, but based on the discussion we've had here today, would the committee have an appetite for a special meeting so that we can only dedicate the entire meeting to this subject?
I think that would be appropriate if my fellow committee members do, and I'm seeing everybody shaking their head.
So we'll discuss that in our meetings, Chair and Vice Chair, but
Okay.
we'll look at what the calendar has, future meetings and so forth, and we'll schedule appropriately.
Sounds good.
That sounds appropriate. I think I'll close this item for discussion then and move on to agenda item number 5, which is design review case number DR 22-06 at 1255 Lorraine Road, and staff who is presenting this.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G. presenting the discussion item for the request to exempt the modification of the story pole for the continued item from July 19, 2023 design review hearing for the design review case number DR 22-06 at 1255 Lorraine Road. The applicant is requesting to be exempt from the requirement of reinstalling or modifying the story pole, reflecting the modification made to the design based on the comments received from the design review committee due to the burden of costs. As shown on the attachments, the cost of having the certified engineer draft the staking plan was $2,700. Having the story pole installed costed another $2,647, which totaled $5,347. This does not include the cost to remove it, which is another cost that will be accrued. And per the policy of the guidelines, the requirement of reinstalling or modifying the story pole from the initial design is determined by the design review committee. And staff would also like to note that the requirement of installing the story pole is not a codified policy. So that concludes staff report. Staff is available to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is also present to answer any questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner G. Does any committee member have questions for staff on this item? Okay, hearing none. Is the applicant here?
I believe she is online.
Okay. If the applicant or applicant's representative wish to comment on this, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comment to 5 minutes, please.
I believe they have a written comment, so give me 1 second. They're online, but their microphone is not working.
Can
If
they
you-
type something in?
Yeah, you're able to, okay, they are. They're just reiterating what Eric was mentioning, that they would like to request that if they can skip the requirement of redoing the story polls when they come back to the DRC. And
Does any member of the committee have a question for the applicant? We could present that question. Perhaps they could respond by typing a response. Committee member Lakon.
But we don't know what they're coming back with, correct?
we don't know what they're coming back with, but if I can elaborate a little bit into basically the DRC's comments was to reduce the size. So what they're coming back with is either going to affirm the committee's recommendations, or they're not. And staff will outline whether they met your comments or not. So hopefully they will address your comments and reduce the size that they previously presented. But right now, we do not have for certain what they're going to be presenting. I think it's quite obvious to the applicant that if they increase it, that it would need new story poles, but we're running on the assumption that they're going to decrease what they previously presented.
Any other questions?
But my other concern is that so when they come back with their new plan, they don't have to go to the neighbors this time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so the story poles have been taken down?
Yes, to clarify, the contractor who installed the story pole, I've also contacted with. They also requested to take it down as soon as possible because installing it for a long period of time, the story poles aren't meant to be installed for a long time, and so there was a risk involved.
Yeah.
They also lease it out as well, so they need it for other projects, and the cost also kind of accumulates as long when they rent it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll open up this item for public comment. Is there anybody present who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak online from the public on this agenda item?
There's no one online.
Has anybody submitted a public comment electronically?
No electronic comments.
Thank you. I'll close the public comment section and bring this back to the committee for discussion. Committee member Batnage.
I think it would be very useful to have the story polls redone, but I've been through this before as a neighbor as well, so I have some familiarity with this. The neighbors happened to tell me that it was going to cost them $3,500 to redo it. I think in that case, I think the staff had basically told them that they needed to do it, something along those lines, or that they should do it. It was helpful to have those story poles moved, but usually the way things work is that the story poles that go up is it's usually that things get less things become smaller, basically, usually, and the massing becomes smaller, or, I think that it is possible, especially when the old story poles are up, to basically go get plans and say, okay, this wall was moved 5 feet back. Let's just go back to the story poles and visualize how it will be when it's 5 feet back. And I think it's possible to do that as long as the redo hasn't been so extensive. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if the revision is fairly minimal and fairly simple, then I think go back to the old story poles. Or are there old story poles gone now? Is that what I
Yes, they're
understand?
on a lease. So all story pole companies, they lease them and then,
But
they,
sometimes I see them up for 6 months somewhere.
right,
They're there forever. We're like, when
right. And then applicants are paying for the lease of those story poles up until a decision.
so the story poles are gone. The original story. Oh, wow. I don't know. I guess I'd like to hear from other people. I find it somewhat reasonable, or more reasonable, if the old story poles are there for a neighbor who are the people impacted, or for us to go and simply, see what has changed and, visualize it with the story poles that were there before. And in order not to have a burden on the applicant of another $5,000. But now that I understand the story poles are gone, that's not really ideal. It's just more difficult. I don't know what to say.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Well, given what we saw last time was proposed in front of us, and it's very clear that they need to reduce the massing. So I think I'm comfortable to basically review, to see the project again if it comes back again, to see it without a storyboard, to visit the job site without seeing a storyboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Lakon.
Well, due to the fact that we don't know what they're coming back with, and I do recall that there was neighbors on one side that were concerned about privacy. And I think the other side, they had come back and said they were okay with it. But I think that it's that we need to see the visual. And I think that because of the size and the massive concerns before, I mean, it could be just bigger in another section because we have no idea where they're going to relocate the mass. So I think I could not support not putting the story poles back up.
Thank you. Committee Member Chang.
Well, I'm sensitive to the expense to the applicant. I remember that we had one neighbor that could show some concern. I think the applicant also took note that they're going to try to reduce the overall development and try to make it more sensitive. I don't think this committee would have any issue understanding what the proposed project will be. I think we can see it. The only thing I think the neighbors will probably be the one that wanted to understand what's going to be built and how it's going to look like. I would suggest that maybe the applicant to talk to that particular neighbor and with the new revised plan and show them that this is what we're doing, this is how we're improving it, and are you comfortable and familiar and understand what we're proposing? If the neighbor had problem understanding, then I would say, then do it. But if they understand what they're doing and then no issue, and the proposed project is going to be smaller than what we have already seen, I would try to save that money from the applicant and spend another $3,000 for something that it doesn't do a lot for us. And if the neighbor would accept it, then maybe I'll let them go without doing it. That's my personal feel.
Thank you. So I think I could support the applicant's request if there are conditions. What I'm hearing from my fellow committee members, that they secure approval from the neighbor and that their plans are very, very specific and very, very clear and don't have any internal inconsistencies, that they've heeded what our issues were with the project before. It's a risk that they're taking if they don't have the story poles and we don't understand the project. That's a risk they're taking. So I don't know if my fellow committee members would be amenable to a motion with conditions.
Could I just add one more?
Absolutely, Vice Chair.
Because I forgot to mention, if we can also make sure that they come back when they present again to have very good 3D renderings.
Right.
Just to exactly to that point.
Well, that was in what we had requested.
Right.
I
Just-
mean,
just want to
so
make sure.
absolutely. I mean, they need to sort of heed what our concerns were before.
Yeah, I think that that is a very reasonable compromise, what you suggested, Chair.
So does anybody have a motion?
I think it was good that based on your suggestion and also with the 3D rendering, so that everybody understand exactly how it compared to the existing structure, how everything would look. So you want me to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I wanted to do that.
Okay. I'll move to approve the exemption of design review case number DR 22-06 at 1255 Lorraine Road from the requirement that the applicant install story poles once again for a future revised design with the three conditions that, number one, the applicant heeds very carefully and assiduously reviews the comments that were made by the committee at the previous hearing, including our request for a 3D rendering, which wasn't provided initially, but any and all comments that were also made by the committee at that hearing on this project at the last DRC meeting. Second, that the applicant secure the approval of those immediate neighbors on both sides, that they have no objection to the revised project. And was there anything else?
And the proposal should be basically it's a scaled down version.
And yes, and their plans need to be so self-explanatory and specific that the risk of not putting up story poles again will not take away from our understanding of the project, if that's specific enough.
Right, comment that the neighbors, the side neighbors are okay without the story poles being placed.
Well, their approval of the project and with declining to object would be with the recognition that there's no story poles.
And they would have to understand that we're
Staff-
allowing them
and
not to
that-
put up story poles.
Okay.
But they know that there could have been story poles, but we have decided not to have them put up story poles to reduce the price, to reduce the price of the project.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, that second or the third point is that the applicant must receive approval from both side neighbors on the revised project and acknowledge that they're okay without them installing story poles.
Right, disclose that they're not doing so and that,
So just to disclose they're not doing story poles.
and right.
And that they
okay.
are okay with the project. Now, assuming one of them is not okay, then does that mean that the applicant has to install story poles?
Well,
Yes.
then our approval isn't, then they haven't met
That's
the
the
conditions of
yeah,
the
it doesn't
approval.
meet the condition.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Just want to make sure staff understands that second point. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chang, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Chow,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 6, which is on the consent agenda. And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of the Design Review Committee from Wednesday, June 21, 2023, as well as the minutes of the regular Design Review Committee meeting of Wednesday, July 19, 2023, as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cho,
Yes.
and Chair McKay.
Yes.
5-0.
And do we have a director's report?
Madam Chair, first of all, I want to thank the committee. This is a great job running this meeting. I mean, obviously the re-roof is a really important subject, and I think all of you did a great job. You did exactly what staff wanted you to do, which is provide some clarity and direction on that subject. And the first items went pretty quick. And the reason I mentioned that is because the chair, the vice chair, and I met, and we had a great discussion about running the meeting for this upcoming term. And some of the points that we raised, I think all of you, without us mentioning it, did perfectly. No one repeated each other's comments. The one discussion we had about the roof on that re-roof, I know Committee Member Banish started with her concerns. Vice Chair went on to the same subject, but with his concerns, so it wasn't repeating her concerns, and the same thing with everybody else. So I think that was great. So we talked about that. We talked about, again, if you can let staff know of any absences ahead of time so that we can contact our alternate members, that would be great. I know that the vice chair is going to go on vacation next meeting. You won't be available. So we already contacted our alternate member, Torreson. Hopefully she can make it. And the other thing we talked about was coordinating the agendas. So for example, next agenda, we might have 6 items that might be ready for our re-roofs. We believe one's a continuing project. Not to say that all those 6 are going to be on the agenda, but those are the ones that we forecast that might be ready. So depending on the magnitude of those projects, we'll touch base with the vice chair and the chair, and we'll plan accordingly. And then one more thing, just to remind everyone, if you're absent for a meeting and the meeting and that project was continued, you can still participate if the project comes back by reviewing the video, reviewing the minutes. You're able to participate. So I just want to remind you of that. And lastly, during the last city council meeting, city council directed staff to look into these, what I call legacy projects. These are the projects that have taken 3-4 years, are still under construction. Typically in most cities, what happens is you get a building inspection, 6 months later, you get another one, and that's how you continue and continue. In this city, you have a year to complete a project, which to be honest with you, most don't do. That's just a reality. And then you request a 6-month extension, a no fee. The second one, if you request, is half the original building permit fee, and every subsequent extension after that is the total fee of the building permit. And some of our residents, they don't blink an eye. They can cut a check, no penalty. So that's really what we're going to look at, is to see how we can incentivize, probably is the best word, the developers to complete their projects in time. So I wanted to touch base because obviously some of you, are involved in those decisions, and we have these projects that are ongoing. A lot of it has to do with COVID. I mean, it does with the change supply and all that. But at the end of the day, it just seems to be a trend more so now than ever before. So that concludes the director's report. Really appreciate it. And again, congratulations, well-run meeting.
Thank you very much. And I know that issue of legacy projects, I wasn't aware of that, but that's welcome news, I think. I did share with the director that we all agreed not to have a meeting on July 5 because of the 4th of July weekend, but then we had a very heavy slate the last meeting. And it is, a big time commitment, especially when we have to coordinate the visitation of some of the projects around the applicants' availability. So if we can just a concern of trying to sort of balance the work so that we can all give each project and each applicant the due consideration that they deserve. So thank you very much. And are there any written communications or public writings for distribution?
There is not.
Thank you. And unless there's anything further to discuss, Director? No? Okay. The meeting is adjourned at 8:55 p.m. And the next Design Review Committee meeting will be held on August 16, Barth Community Room of the Kroll Public Library at 6 p.m. Thank you very much.